Welcome back. And the Finance Minister Nirmal tabled the economic survey in the Parliament today. With respect to agriculture and food management, the government aims to promote crop diversification and to augment crop and livestock productivity. The economic survey also lays emphasis on ensuring certainty of returns to the farmers with the help of price support on the eve of Budget 2023. What are the key expectations from the commodity and agriculture space? Will the budget revise the commodity transaction tax levied in 2013? To discuss this, I am now joined by Siraj Hussain, Senior Visiting Fellow at Indian Council for Research on International Economic Relations, also former secy in Agriculture, and Kunal Shah is Head of Commodities and Currencies at Nirmal Bang. Gentlemen, hi, thank you so much for joining us. And Kunal, I'll start with you first. CTT seems to be one thing, one agenda that almost all the commodity participants really seem to be pushing on whether it can be lowered or waived off. What's your sense during this budget now?
Yeah, it's a high time, Manisha. The way India is growing, we are the fastest growing economy in the world, and we stand at a $3.1 trillion economy. From here, our journey from 3.1 to 5 trillion, 6 trillion is going to consume a lot of commodities, and hence the importance of commodity market in India is going to be more and more going forward. So now it is a high time where we come to a point where the transaction cost on the commodity exchanges in India should be brought down, because most of the hedging is now going through international exchanges. So the volumes 10 years back in the Indian markets were quite robust than what it is right now. So the potential, even from the job creation point of view, this market has is phenomenal. So it is a high time where the policymakers should take this into account and reduce the commodity transaction costs. This market is going to favor the economic growth and also going to create jobs. So whatever revenue loss they are going to have, which it will be amplified in the terms of volume, and eventually that revenue loss also will be met by the higher volumes. So it's the one thing which everyone is hoping for, and even I'm hoping for, that let us see that they do it or not. But I keep my fingers crossed if it happens. It's a great news for commodity market.
Oh, well, absolutely. Kunal, are you also anticipating some incentives to hedge within the Indian markets? Are you also allowing mutual funds or other entities to be allowed to hedge in commodity derivative market here in India?
Yeah, so yes, that kind of announcement also expected, and that will definitely boost the sentiment. Already we've seen domestic mutual funds have increased their participation in commodity exchange, but with the rising volume in the commodity exchange, I think we'll see more and more participation even from the mutual funds. So yes, that kind of announcement also would really cheer up the market, and it is anticipated from the budget.
Kunal, the other important thing from the non-agro space clearly has been about gold, silver, diamond import duty. I mean, this is something that the industry has been putting forth that would impact the kind of trade that we do in case of India as well. Any sense, any movement that you think the finance minister could look at that way?
Well, logically, if you ask, because of the higher duty, we are seeing a lot of gold coming out of India in illegitimate ways. And that is not something which the ministry will like over a period of years. So there has to be a rationalization of duty going forward. But that also comes with a cost right now, and India cannot afford the stage right now. So a nominal cut just to cheer up the market sentiment can be expected. But I'm not expecting any major or drastic cut in an import duty of gold or any other precious metal. So any cut would be welcomed by the industry, which can trigger some downside on the domestic market. But I'm not expecting any hefty cuts in the import duty. So at this juncture, curtailing the gold imports also remain quite important. The higher duty are definitely is helping some of the costs, but eventually all those gold is coming out of some of the other ways. So I think some rationalization is expected, very nominal, but I will not be surprised if it comes.
All right. So some expectations, not a huge one, not a very happy one, but some movement perhaps could come that way. Well, that's about the non-agro and, of course, the commodity trading part of it. But agriculture clearly had a lot say in the economic survey that got released today. Mr. Siraj Hussain as well joins us now. Mr. Hussain, one, what is your pick from the economic survey? And the other thing really is that there are a lot of comprehensive policies that the market really seems to be anticipating, whether it is about feed and fodder, irrigation to be converted into an infrastructure as an industry, given that status there. There's a long list here too.
I think the economic survey has done well to highlight India's success story as far as inflation management is concerned. We should consider ourselves lucky that now our food inflation is less than 6%. And it was due to some deft management and timely decision making to ban the export of wheat, impose export duty on rice, etc. Also, the government had entered into long-term contract with some African countries and Myanmar for import of pulses, so that has kept the pulses prices also down. So all this has contributed to what one can say is reasonable level of inflation under 6%. So that is a good news, and that is despite very high edible oil prices when Russia invaded Ukraine. As far as structural changes in the budget are concerned, in the agriculture sector, I do not think that the government is going to give any concession to future trading. A wrong decision in my view, because now the Indian edible oil importers are not able to hedge their imports, so bad for them. Similarly, I'm not really anticipating any substantial hike in allocations because the government's budget constraints have to be remembered, and now defense has to be allocated extra amount. So I think on the whole, as the economic survey shows, it will be some kind of business as usual approach.
All right. You know, a lot of push has been on technology, digitization. Are you anticipating much there?
Actually, digitization has been proceeding in bits and pieces. And so far, despite all the investment which has come into that space, we have not really seen a technological breakthrough, even in the assessment of the size of crop. However, there are a number of areas in which technology is coming, and especially if you see India's agriculture story of the last 2 decades, PUSA 1121 was basically due to research by ICAR system. In sugarcane, CO 0238 was because of ICAR, Dr. Bakshi Ram, who was awarded Padam Shri this year. So what I want to see in the budget is basically a higher allocation for agricultural research.
Okay. Mr. Hussain, also there has been an ask about crop insurance, especially when dealing with weather anomalies. I mean, that really seems to be the buzzword right now. Cattle insurance is yet another thing. And you know, carbon credits associated with agriculture is the third point that the street really seems to be raising on. Anything out of this three which has a possibility of being there in the budget?
You see, cattle insurance is already there. It has not been very successful, but it has been there for decades. Similarly, the crop insurance scheme has gone under several modifications, and what actually the expectation is that every type of calamity will be insured. Now, if you were to insure every type of calamity, including the local calamities, you know, local flooding, which has been misused in several states, especially as the report suggests in Haryana. So then the premiums go very high. Then the claim ratio is objected, and people say that you know, private companies are making profit and all that. So there is a bind there. Now, I do see some possibility of carbon budgeting helping agriculture. So that is very much a possibility.
The other big one clearly has been the announcement of International Year for Millets, and we've seen a lot being done there. Are you anticipating some subsidies for the push to this one?
I don't expect any subsidy as such. What is possible is that government may like to procure some quantity of millets which will raise their prices above MSP. Fortunately, for most of the crops right now, the prices are above MSP, so the government doesn't have to do much. However, the government is doing well, I would say, in promoting the consumption of millets by the better off sections of society. If these sections of society start consuming millets in their daily breakfast or daily lunch or dinner, then the prices will go up. The farmers will also realize better prices. And in general, it will also improve the health of the consumers. So I do not see much intervention of the government coming, except in the form of promotion of millets, which is the right strategy to do, rather than giving financial support in a form of MSP. Because then what do you do with if you procure a very large quantity of millets? What do you do with that?
Sure. Mr. Hussain, one final question, and the economic survey clearly pats its back when it comes to the MSP, the production of food grains, the free food grain distribution as well. And then, of course, talks about organic farming and FPOs and the work that is being done with that as well. Anything within this that you expect to be addressed within budget too?
I have written about free food grain scheme. I am not a supporter of that. I don't think it was necessary at this point of time. But then so many assembly elections are due this year, parliament elections are due next year. My problem is that any future government will find it very difficult to charge anything for the food grains. So that is not a good policy for the long run.
Okay.
However, I think many of the announcements, populist announcements may be made only in the next year's budget.
Sure.
I do think that, and I hope that government would have realized by now that APMCs still remain the major source of information on prices. And therefore, we need better information, more information, accurate information, correct information about the variety of grains which are being traded, due to which there is no parity across the APMCs. So investment in the APMC's infrastructure is what I'm looking for. In fact, 3 years back, I think the government had announced a scheme for modernization of harts, smaller harts which are not APMCs.
Right.
But somehow that also did not take off. I wish the APMCs, most of them are very weak in different states, except in Punjab, Haryana, and Andhra Pradesh, Telangana, etc. So we do need investment there so that farmers can realize a better price. They have better and timely access to information.
Absolutely. Before we wind this conversation, Kunal, a final question to you as well. How do you look at agriculture as a space from the commodity trading point of view?
Well, in commodity agriculture, I expect that going forward, more and more commodities should be brought in the futures trading with the confidence that they will not ban. So I think banning commodity is not good for the markets. We've seen that even the price mechanism, the pricing which used to come from the exchange was one of the good ways the farmer were getting idea about what is happening in the market. So I think it's the time when we should be more liberal towards agriculture commodity trading. Remember, there are empirical evidences which indicates that because of the futures trading, the prices of commodity is getting a good price mechanism, good price discovery. So I don't think so that we should ban commodities. We should come up with more confidence to the market and allow more and more commodities to be traded on the commodity exchanges.
So hopefully we will hear something about that during this budget as well. But thank you so much, Kunal, Mr. Hussain, for joining us. So a very, very eventful day lined up tomorrow. You have the Indian budget. You also have the US Fed meeting, the OPEC and allies meeting as well, talking about the crude there. So there's a lot to watch out for, and we'll, of course, help you doing that. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of Commodity Champions. Thank you for watching.
Co-presented by LIC.